Hi Thibaud, welcome.
I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm a little nervous, I have to say, because this is the first time that I'm talking to, rather. I don't like saying interviewing. An illustrious alumni member, I should say. Because
Everything will be okay.
You're the CEO of the Luxembourg Media and Digital Design Center now.
Yeah.
Before we go into your journey in at List, what is it's LMDDC, yeah? LMDDC.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, it took me 3 months also just to make sure that I put the letters in the right order. So no problem with that. Everybody struggles. We thought about changing the names, but finally we kept the names because now it's good from a marketing point of view. This is the organization where nobody retained the name, which is fine for us. Yeah, so the LMDDC, the Luxembourg Media and Digital Design Center, is an EIG, which has been funded by the Ministry of Higher Education and Research on one side, the Ministry of National Education, Children and Youth on the other side, and the List, actually. So the three members are the List, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Research. And we are funded by the Ministry of Research fully.
Right.
And what about the mission? So our core mission is really to accelerate the adoption and the use of IT technologies and innovative IT technologies for digital learning. So really we are there to empower organizations to really jump into the digital world for education, training, everything that helps people to learn and acquire new skills. So we do a series of activities, very IT, technical, geeks, producing content, hosting softwares, but also assisting and also creating a lot of events for knowledge dissemination towards our targets.
Excellent. What led you to, now I'm going back to List a little bit, what led you to join, this center?
It's a kind of a...
Is it sort of a logical?
It's kind of logical in a way. Yeah, it's a kind of a small and slow drift, but a positive drift actually. So long time ago we were working already in EdTech, educational technologies.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about that later on. Starting from the knowledge modeling, and this led us to go to the educational technologies and so forth. During the pandemics, there was this LMDDC that was created, and they were looking for somebody to take care of it and to actually create the structure because it was just the bylaws already. And I've been asked if could you help? Could you do something? So for a while, about less than a year, I was kind of part-time mounting the structure, organizing the structure, doing the first recruitments, and part-time still at List.
Right.
And then once the first employee came, then I just completely shifted to, so I left List and I shifted to the LMDDC fully. Now we are 12. So the team is growing slowly as the plan, as the schedule, the HR schedule has been established by the board and myself.
You spoke of knowledge modeling. So, first of all, you were there when List was created, right?
Oh, yes. It's a long time before already.
Yeah, because I saw that you were at one of the centers, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I came in 2000 at Henri Tudor at that time. Yeah. And I came to be a knowledge engineer. So
what is a knowledge engineer?
The knowledge engineer initially, and it's a cool anecdote, by the way, for my recruitment at that time. Just a few steps back, I was a researcher at the University of Namur in Belgium in chemistry, theoretical chemistry. Nothing to do with IT at that time yet. It was a lab doing theoretical chemistry and computer chemistry, and we were applying computer chemistry.
Computer chemistry.
Yeah. And we were applying all sorts of AI from that time, techniques to solve chemical problems. And I was kind of very interested with AI. So at that time we were doing expert systems, we were doing genetic algorithms, early age neural networks applied on chemical problems. And I saw this job position on knowledge engineer, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to shift into AI.
Right.
And the knowledge engineer at that time in the AI world of that time for knowledge for expert system was the person who formalizes the knowledge that you will put in the system.
Right.
Create the rules, write the rules, so very formalized all these things.
The prompter.
And not the
Not
prompter.
the prompter?
No, the one who will feed the system.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Capture the knowledge from the experts.
Got it. Okay.
And just write it down
Mhm.
in a software code or in a code that the software can understand, in rules, basically.
Mhm.
And I thought it was really that. It was, yeah, let's go. And finally, I ended up in a completely different dimension, which was absolutely great. Actually, it was not a knowledge engineer to build an expert system, as I thought. It was a knowledge engineer to build a knowledge management system. So it was more on the management side of
Got
knowledge,
it. Okay.
more than on the technical side. And this is the start of my career, at least at Tudor at that time.
Yeah.
And then I jumped in completely in knowledge modeling. So I'm balancing the
What is knowledge modeling?
knowledge modeling is just knowledge representation. How do you represent the human knowledge so that a computer can understand it, manage it, treat it, do something with it, reason, infer new knowledge, new things,
Right.
and so forth. So this is, and I was using these kind of technologies already in chemistry, and I just discovered that a brand new world is opening in front of my arms, my open arms that I welcome very well.
Yeah.
And this is the start of all the things: knowledge management, knowledge modeling, knowledge representation, semantic web, and then finally we build
Semantic
we
web, yeah.
build and on top of that we build educational technologies. And it's the, I would say in French we say le fil rouge. This is the
underlying current of the
exactly the line
of your career,
the line of
really.
my career.
Yeah. And what interests me to know is that how your time at LIST actually, because you've been here since 2000, you said.
Yep. Yeah.
How did it shape your career?
Oh, it's well, I was always extremely motivated by research, but I used to also play theater, play music, and do arts and so forth. So I was always balanced between different poles about creativity,
Okay.
scientific rigor, discovering, doing pragmatic and practical things, and actually, in a research center like Tudor was at that time and LIST is today, it enabled to kind of put together these pieces, not to be completely fully in one or in the other, but put these pieces together, invent, innovate. So this is the creativity side, but also do pragmatic things, and still keeping in a process of sound research and sound science. So it gave me something more than what I learned and what I had at the university. University was really very academic.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, I had a great time at university, but I discovered here the fact that there's a kind of a journey between that, and then at the end of the day, you need to be useful. Starting to be useful, only useful, so very utilitarian is probably not good because then you don't do good science. But doing good science with the perspective that you're going to be useful at the end of the journey, this is something that really shaped my view. That's what I learned when I came here, when I joined Tudor and then LIST, is really that feeling of at the end of the journey you're useful. And I remember some anecdotes. It was a European project. It was probably in the years 2008 or something. We were in European project, and in a big European project, it was Network of Excellence at that time, huge stuff. And I was in a conference of the project and explaining what we're going to do and what we are doing, and so forth. It was based on ontologies, these knowledge representations, and so forth.
Okay.
And I had few persons coming from university partners in Europe coming to me and say, "Wow, it's very interesting what you're doing, and what is impressive is that you deliver. You do something concrete. You can talk about the theory, you sound about the theory, but at the end of the day, you deliver something, and not just a paper." And it was for me one of the most rewarding comments that I could receive at that time. So this is, and I kept that in my mind all the time.
And what was, along all these years, what was one of the, if I ask you, one of the most exciting projects or rewarding projects that you were involved in? Because when I was introducing you, you had like you founded the what was it, the environment lab?
Oh yeah,
Something
the
to-
cognitive environment lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
The cognitive environment lab.
yeah.
Something okay.
So, I mean, if I talk about this is structural. It's inside list.
Yeah.
So created a lab.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little mention about that.
Yeah.
Coming from Tudor side,
Yeah.
I can't say about Liebman at that time, but coming from Tudor side, there was no in IT. There was no physical things. It was all very theoretical.
Yeah. Very
even if-
vague. Yeah. Yes.
And the only and the thing that we were producing in terms of practical things were mostly softwares,
yeah.
models,
Yeah.
and softwares. And at a certain moment in time, IoT, Internet of Things came out, and we were feeling like we need also to not only do softwares but work with devices and work with hardware in a way. And during the journey of knowledge modeling, there was also a big question: how do you capture the knowledge? You can do interviews with experts.
How to collect the
that's-
data.
Yeah, that's the old good
basically,
way.
yeah.
But there are many different ways.
Mm.
And how do you create this interaction between a computer and a human so that it's not just only using the computer, but it's really kind of have knowledge transactions between the computer and the human. And then came out the idea of creating multimodal interaction, still in the idea of having this knowledge dialogue between the machine and the human.
Mm.
And then we started to say, okay, but what is a natural way to do that? Gesture, voice. Then we need a space with microphones, cameras, register, analyze the gesture, have other types of interfaces. And this brought the idea of creating that cognitive environment lab, which is an environment where you can have a knowledge transactions with a machine through all sorts of devices and all sorts of modalities. And on top of that, it's not only one human with the machine, but many humans between humans through the machine.
Right.
And this was the starting point of saying, okay, then we need a lab, we need a place, and it was in the IT side. So with the colleagues also working on virtual reality and so forth, it was one of the first in the IT side, actually, in the IT department, to get a physical place which were kind of looking like a lab, like we can imagine that it can exist in chemistry or physics,
Yeah.
and so forth. So it was a very pleasant endeavor, but that was internal. But talking about project, I would mention two.
Yeah.
One that illustrates all the journey that I explained from the research to the application at the end of the day, and another one which is more social. It was also a great project from the results, but also I would just mention it from a social perspective. So the social perspective, let's start with this one, was a European project called Palette, where we created very strong synergies between pedagogues on one side, so people coming from the human sciences, and purely IT guys.
Right.
And the idea was to equip with software communities of practice with a palette of software. That's the name of the project. And the social things is that whereas we had a lot of fight for ideas, and not physical fights, but I mean for ideas
Yeah.
and for vision and so forth between these two completely different perspective of science,
Different worlds. Yeah.
different words. We ended up with a very strong friendship. And guess what? 10 years after, we had a big after the project, we organized a big party in Switzerland,
Oh wow.
where all the former partners of the project
Yeah.
were present for 2 days for a big party in the house of the coordinator 10 years after. And this is something absolutely great from a human perspective.
Yeah. What was the result of the project?
The result of the project was a series of papers and a series of tools that we created to equip the communities of practice. So
Right.
tools that enable them to make in the distance, to merge different argumentations, tools to we created also a model to measure the value of the knowledge that is exchanged in the communities. We created at that time there was Google Vibes and or Net Vibes, if you remember.
Yeah.
these-
Net vibes. Yeah.
yeah, we created a complete open source system
okay.
to create these widget system. That was the first one that was compliant with the W3C standard on widgets at that time. So they were both softwares. They were also understanding of the functioning of communities of practice, and everything came out with a merge between human science and technologies. And this is also something very important in my career. At every step of my career, I always had the chance to work in a multidisciplinary stance, putting together human sciences, psychology, educational sciences, and also technologies, pure IT, modeling, and all disciplines of IT. And I think this is also the little spice that makes innovation more innovative, if I would say.
Absolutely.
This interdisciplinarity. It's not multidisciplinary. It's really transdisciplinary.
Yeah, exactly.
And to do that, you need kind of disciplinary empathy. You need to be willing to understand what a psychologist, and even take a psychology book and read it. And of course, you expect that the psychologist will understand what you're talking about when you're talking about an ontology or you're talking about a database. And if this magic, if this spice is coming, then the team is really great, and the innovation is really can really be outstanding.
And so this was a successful, one of the most successful collaborative efforts that you had.
Exactly. I had many fancy projects. And the other one is the one that I also, of course, extremely proud of. It's TAO, which is the testing assisté par ordinateur in French, so computer-based assessment.
Yeah.
And it started quite early. It started in 2002 when I met Romain Martin, who was at ISERP at that time. The university was not existing at that time.
Yeah.
It was in preparation. And together, he's coming from also the psychology side and educational science.
Yeah.
And we decided to build together an open source platform for computer-based assessment. And the great thing is that I proposed to build it on knowledge modeling technologies, based on ontologies and knowledge-based system. So it was very avant-garde at that time. In 2002, I think the first standard in RDF came out in '99 and 2000. So it was brand new, and we took the risk to build the whole stuff on that. And it was a very great journey. So we traveled the whole world to present the project and so forth. We had a chance to meet also great people from the Ministry of Education in Luxembourg, Jean-Paul Reef, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And he put us on the map of the world by making us meet people in the US like ETS, people in Australia like Acer. And from that, we were able to jump in PISA. We met OECD and so forth. We responded. We were participating to the bid, the bidding process on PISA, and we had a chance to start to equip PISA with the software, starting in 2009. We were working on that since 2006.
What is PISA? I'm sorry.
PISA is the big survey, which is completely international. I don't remember how many countries, probably 65 or 80 countries, in as many languages, which are surveying the literacy, numeracy, and scientific literacy of pupils of 15 all over the world, comparing the educational systems and providing reports. You know this. Everybody knows PISA from the ranking of the countries and so forth, which is just between you and me, the least interesting information from PISA. There are many other great interesting things in the reports and so forth. This ranking is just for the media, and but frankly, so we had a chance to equip that huge survey, and it brought us on a completely different dimension. It was not just a little project to equip a few schools or universities and so forth, like development. Then we jumped into the fact that we were also managing the data from all the countries, with a downtime uptime, for more than 99.99%, so which means that you can have disruptions for a few hours or not even a day, I think, if I remember well, a year. So it was, and then we developed, of course, we had contract, and we developed a team, and we could co-fund a series of research projects, and on the side we had all these operations to do, and this went to the creation of the company. We created a startup, to
Oh.
commercialize the product, which was open source. But yet, you still need to get revenue
Yeah, of
to
course.
to keep and maintain the product.
Yeah.
It was in 2013, and we founded Open Assessment Technologies
Right.
with investors. OAT, yeah, OAT,
Yeah.
yeah, with corporate investors from the Netherlands, and of course,
Right.
List. That time, a List was very put also money on the table
Right. Yeah.
to fund. So was a shareholder,
Yeah.
and then other shareholders came in, and then we continued to equip PISA, equip also huge campaigns of assessments, pupils assessment in the U.S. Under the Obama presidency. A lot of contract in different countries, and in last year, if I remember well, last year there was an exit. The company was completely acquired by
Yeah.
a Japanese
Yeah.
by
I
a
remember
big player,
we did.
Japanese
Yeah,
big
yeah,
player.
yeah.
So this is what I was saying, the complete journey. I was a co-founder of the company. I was in the company for 2 years, and I considered at the end of the day I was CTO there, and once the company was kind of settled, running, I was considering myself I'm at the end of my journey, and I went back to List actually. So I was still part time, but I went back completely to List. It was the moment where the merger was in operation, and I was saying to myself, well, let's go back, do something else, and let's do it again in 10 years. So that was my plan actually, and there was a fantastic journey of more than 10 years, from the very basic first lines of code based on a very brand new model of knowledge representation on our side, incorporating and understanding what the psychologist and the educational scientist has to tell us about psychometry and all these models and mathematics and statistics which is behind, understanding all these things, designing the product, designing a platform which is future proof, and realizing that at the end of the day, the choices that we made 10 years before or 20 years before actually were still running.
Relevant. Yeah.
So I was also very proud to say, okay, we designed something which was really future proof in terms of IT. And then we just climbing the TRL scale.
Yeah.
Up to 9. And then I said, okay, so now I'm finished. The company will run without me, and I'm not useful anymore. Let's go back down the scale,
restart
again. Yeah.
Wonderful. It's amazing to hear, about the journey. Like I was telling you, even the other two scientists that I've spoken to, and their progress and their journey within the organization. It's fantastic. Thank you. Actually, I feel privileged to have you as a guest, and thank you for sharing your journey.
Thank you very much to invite me.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.